Okay, so building a homepage in Breakdance. What does it look like? How does it work? What are we going to do to create that homepage? Is it similar to Elementor? Are there elements that work the same? Shape dividers, things like that. Can we do the same? Well, clearly we can. But this is all the stuff we're going to look at in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it and see what's what. So we're going to go to Breakdance, we're going to go open up the home page, and we're going to start editing. Alright, so in previous videos in this series, we've already done the header, and we've already done the footer as well. So we've had a look at the footer and everything we want to design there. We've actually included this call to action in our footer as well, so we have it on all pages. And then this stuff here we've just thrown together as a bit of a test. We started building out the hero section, so we can have a look at how we did that. Okay, and we will start that section again from scratch so you actually can see how we've done that. All right, so if we pull down the so we've got the structure panel on the right hand side here. Just click on this icon. It shows you all the kind of content you have in a nice structure so you can see what's going on. So we have two sections. So the main section at the top is one section, and then this second section is where we've got all this random stuff here. So we're going to be looking at the top section for now, and what we have is we have two divs. So the divs are the outer containers for the content. So we've got a main section that holds everything, then we've got a div that's on the left hand side that holds all our text and buttons and stuff, and then we've got a div over here that holds our image. Okay, and you want to try and use as least amount of divs and columns and sections as you can, because obviously that is going to reduce the amount of code. And if we had, for example, if we had just one heading or button over here and one image over here, we wouldn't need the divs at all. We would just put them into the section, and then we would lay the section out using flex and horizontally space between, which we've done anyway, but this setting is applying to the divs at the moment because we're setting the divs to apply to layout horizontally. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate this section at the top, okay, so you can see live how it works. So in this section below, I'm just going to clear out all this gumph we had already. Okay, so we've now got a plain section just like the one above that we started with. So the first thing I want to do with this section, okay, is give it a background color. And we've got our colors set up in our globals already, which is what we did in a previous video, and we can link that below in the description, which covers the global colors, fonts, and so on. So we've added a background, and now what we want to do is we want to add our two divs. So we go up here to add, and we choose a couple of divs. So we'll add that one, and then just for speed we'll duplicate it. Alright, so now what we want to make sure, which it is already doing by the looks of it, is that this section is laying out our divs horizontally rather than vertically. So we go to layout and we go to horizontal, and you can see we've already set that to space between. But if we clear this layout altogether, what happens is by default the divs sit on top of each other. And then of course we want to put our text in one and our button and so on. And then we want to put our image in another, and that's no good with this layout. So with our section selected, we go to layout, horizontal, and then we go align, and we can align center so they're both sat in the center like this, laid out horizontally. Okay, we can lay them out on the right, pretty much as it says really. So what we're going to do is we're going to go space between, so it spaces them out evenly across the screen. Now what we want to do is grab our heading, text, and button. So we're going to grab a heading and throw that in there. We're going to grab some text and throw that in there. And then we're going to grab a button and throw it in there. Okay, so then from here I'm just going to copy the text. Okay, just so we've got a similar look. And so we've got click here button. So then what we've got here is we've got a star rating. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that a second. Pop the star rating in here. And as you can see, it looks very different. Okay, so we changed our star rating to be 5 stars, and I believe we kept it at that. We changed, we kept the label, we changed the label wording. So let's just grab our wording a second. Okay, and then our stars we changed to one of our global colors, I believe, or was it just black? I think it was just black. Let me move myself over there because I'm in the way. So we're nearly there. So now we've got it laid out with the colors and the styling. You can see our stars are a little bit bigger down here, so let's just change those to maybe 15. Nope, definitely bigger than that. 25. 25. Yeah, so that's about right. So what we want to do now is we want to look at how we're going to lay this out. Okay, because we don't want it to sit like this. We want it to sit like this. So we go to advanced, I think. I'm just trying to remember where this was set. Labels, so on and so forth. Yeah, gap. Label spacing, wrapper, margin top, margin bottom. And this is the good thing about doing this live, is that you can kind of see where I struggle to find things, and then you can not do that basically. It saves you the hassle. So there we go. So it's in the label. So we go to styling, we go to label, and then what we do is we go after or before. Okay. And then what we can do is we can set then a vertical layout on a particular device. So we're going to go desktop, or you could change it at a phone. So once you get down to phone size, you could then get that to change, as you can see there. So let's just put back up to the desktop. So we're going to say we want that to apply from desktop straight away. So now we've pieced this together, but you can see it's kind of taking up quite a lot of room, but we'll deal with that in a moment. So now we need to grab our image to go in our second div over here. So let's grab our image element, pop it into our div, and all of a sudden you can see, oh, it's now gone down below, not laid out horizontally. Don't worry, we'll fix that in a minute. So let's find our image. Let's use this one. Okay, so we've got this image now, and you're thinking, right, well, how do we get this to work properly? Because it's just totally messed the layout. So what we need to do now is we just need to work with our divs. So we'll choose the first div, and what we really want to do is we want to make sure that the width of this div is 50% of the screen, essentially. Okay, so what we need to do is we go to the settings and advanced. Okay, and then what we need to go is go to the wrapper, and then layout. No, we don't. Size, and then width. We're going to go for 50%. So 50% of the screen. And then the same again with this div. So we go settings, advanced, wrapper, which means basically this element that wraps everything. And then we go size again, and we're going to go 50%, not pixels, 50%. And then you can see each div takes up 50% of the screen. Okay, so then we're nearly there. We're nearly there. But what you can see now is that our text is a bit squished up, our image is a bit too big. So how do we deal with that? Well, it's with the widths again, really. So if you see what we did with the 50%, we just need to make the sizing slightly different. So up here, I think we did something like, I want to say, no, it's not even in there. Did we change it somewhere else then, maybe? Container. Okay, you can do it with container as well. So we did that one to 55%. And then obviously that div here is then going to be slightly smaller at 40%, so that it gives you that layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here. I'm going to clear out our wrapper options and we'll just go with a container like we did previously. So let's go back to the first div in this section. We're going to go to container, change that to width. I'm going to say that one's going to be 55. And then this second div, we are going to go to container again and width, and we'll give it 40 like we did at the top. So now you can see we've pretty much got the same layout as above. Now we've just got to do some spacing in between here. Okay, and this is where I was going to say Elementor. This is where Breakdance comes in really handy, because you can literally set the gap within your div to lay stuff out. So here you can see within this div we're saying give everything a gap of 40 pixels. So everything in there will have a 40 pixel gap between it. And that's just so quick. Rather than going into each element and then adding padding or margin, it's just so much easier and saves so much time. So we'll go to this div and we'll say give everything a 40 pixel gap, and straight away everything's got a gap of 40 pixels. And so now we're getting closer to this design. So we need this item here. Now, how do we place an image just there next to the button but above this text, but seems to be kind of overlapping? So what we need to do is we need to add an image but use absolute positioning. So let's grab our image element and we'll just pop it in here somewhere. Don't worry that it's moving everything around, we'll sort that in a minute. We will find our little arrow image and we will choose that. Okay, and then so what we've got now is we've got our image, and for some reason I can now not move the screen around, which is not helpful at all. Let's just get rid of me altogether. There we go. So we've got our image, okay, and what we need to do now is set the positioning of it. Okay, we can deal with the size and everything else after. So another little tip that I suggest to use as much as you can, because you'll find as you're using Breakdance, it's really awesome in the fact that it puts all the stuff you need for basic use at the forefront, but any kind of more advanced stuff is it's buried basically. So you kind of start digging around and going, okay, well it's not there. Okay, it's not there. Maybe it's in advanced. Maybe it's the wrapper. Or is it borders spacing? Or not quite sure. Maybe it's layout. Layout. Could it be flex? No, not sure. Is it in advanced? Oh, position. There it is. So we're kind of buried several windows down to then finally find the absolute positioning. So the search is your best friend in Breakdance. Click here. Also to click on this cog so it gives you advanced settings as well, and then just start typing positioning and you'll find you've got wrapper layout, okay, we've got wrapper typography, so on and so forth. They've all got different positioning elements within them. So if we then choose absolute, okay, and then what we can do is we can then start. No, we can't, because it's not going to let me. So what we can do then, okay, is we can then start adding, you know, top and left and right positioning to get it to sit where we want it to sit. Okay, so I'm just going to go for like 300 and something odd, and then maybe 200, and then that's giving us something like what we want. Now, I could have sworn when I first did this I could drag this around, but it seems not. So yeah, we just have to use these, I guess. So let's just move these down a bit. So I'm going to go for like 320. Okay, 300 should do it. Nope. Let's go for 280. That's about right for now, and then this one we will go for like 180. And so as you can see, It's close, it's not exactly the same, but it's just a case of, you know, playing around with the positioning. But now, as you can see, we've got our section built out, okay, and we've got our elements where we want them. We've got one thing missing, and that is our shape divider. And that is added to the section itself. So if we go back up to the top section, okay, and then in this this kind of styling options, we have dividers, okay, and then basically you add an item, and then within that item you choose your shape divider, the positioning, so on and so forth, colors, what have you, okay, and that is all you need to do to add your shape divider. So we're going to do it for this one. So we're going to close some of these down. We're going to go to dividers. We're going to add an item, and we want wave 1, I think we used. So let's go to wave 1. Now we don't want it at the top. We want it at the bottom, but we also don't want it black. We want that to be white so that it then stands out. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. That's the section done and duplicated. You can do things like change the width. However, I've noticed that there is all a little bit, it's a little bit buggy. So, for example, if I change the width, change the height to like something like that, just to exaggerate it. Okay, you can change the width, but it doesn't stay centered, so it just pulls it off anyway. Apparently you can flip it, but this is kind of a symmetrical shape, so you wouldn't really notice. What I find tends to break this, even without all of these, is if I just leave it as default, and then I go to like a phone, okay, and I want to, so as you can see, the peaks are a little bit too high, so I want to then change it on this particular section to make them a bit wider, okay. What happens is they disappear, and then they go to the top, and then they turn black, even though I've set it to bottom. So I think this is probably a bug, because if I switch it between, I can't change it. It just doesn't seem to work. Okay, so now on mobile, that's just totally screwed, essentially. So this is definitely a bug, I would have thought. Because it's just not carrying through the settings from the desktop. Okay, so, and the problem is you can't change it. So once you've tried to change that on your phone screen size, sorry, then it's broken. You can't do anything unless you basically remove the shape divider, add it again, and just don't mess with it on you know, another screen size, basically. So like I said, I think that's probably a bug. I'm sure Lewis or someone in the team will have a look at that at some point. It would be good to get that fixed though. So yeah, that's our top section done. So I'm just going to delete that now because I already did it. I just wanted to show you how it was done, and we'll look at adding some more sections. But if you're liking this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share, like, all that kind of stuff. Give us some comments. It'd be really, really appreciated. Want to give a shout out to Anthony Christian, who gave me a comment about the audio on our last video, which sounded like a tin can, and yes, it did sound like a tin can, because we just didn't have the equipment to sound good. But we now do. We have a bit of a better setup, and hopefully the sound quality is better. So yeah, shout out to Anthony. So let's get on to the next section. So if we collapse everything, we've got our hero section. We're all happy with that. I am kind of using a couple of things as inspiration. Okay. So I'm using... This template is a bit of inspiration to a degree. I think this is an Elementor template kit. So I've kind of pulled some elements from it, not much, but some. And then there's another website I've been looking at. I can't remember where I saw it. I saw it somewhere on a Facebook group. It might have even been the Breakdance group. And some of the styling elements from this style as well is really nice and neat. So I'm kind of just taking a bit of a mixture between both of those, and then inspiration from our own site, which hopefully we, at the end of this series of Breakdance, we will have essentially rebuilt our own site in Breakdance, and we'll look to use that for the future. So looking at our own site now, okay, we've got a few bits. We've got, I mean, our homepage is pretty text heavy. I'll admit that. We need to kind of look at that and change things, but you know. So we kind of have a call to action at the moment, or well, not a call to action, but a kind of highlighted area, just to give everyone a quick short idea of what we do and what we're for. So I want to try and keep the new design as clean as possible. Okay, so I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it without bulking stuff out too much, and I think something like this, where you've just got a bit of a header, a bit of text, so we might have to slim this text down a fair bit, I would imagine. So maybe just that first paragraph we'll go for as an example. So firstly, we need a new section, and as soon as you add a new section, it pops up underneath, and then you can just start adding your elements to it as you wish. So I'm going to add a heading, and then I'm going to add some text. Okay, and you can see that they're currently aligned to the left, and you could potentially, you know, align them within the element itself, but we're just going to grab the section and we're going to lay everything out centered. So that makes it easier. Then we're going to go into our text element. We're going to paste that first paragraph. And now, bearing in mind, all our headings and text that we add are taking on our global settings again. So like I said earlier, if you've set your global settings up first, that's the best practice, because then your workflow is so much quicker. You just start adding stuff and it all takes on the styling, the color, the font, the sizing. It's all done for you. So it really does make life so much easier. So now looking at this text, it's kind of width is a bit too wide. I kind of want it a bit more like this. So we'll grab that section again and we will go layout, horizontal. So we've got a line. We don't want to align. Spacing, no. Advanced. Do we have So we kind of want width, don't we? So let's just we want width of the section. So let's have a look. So we've got wrapper width. So would that apply to the section, do you think? Let's give it a go. So let's just go 800 pixels. Okay, so it kind of does, but we want that to center, so that's not gonna be helpful. Really? Because although we want that to be that size, we want it to center. So what we may have to do, and I'm sure somebody will correct me if I am wrong, but I think we might need to add a div within there and then pop our stuff in the div. Okay, and then we'll grab the div. We will center align everything in there, and then we'll give the container a width of 800 pixels. So that works better. Presumably that's the way you do it. I was just trying to think of a way of not adding another div, but I maybe that is as good as it gets. Again, globals, we've already set up our spacing between our sections, so that's all good. So I don't really know what heading we're going to give this. What have we got up here? WordPress maintenance services. Okay, so let's just say expert WordPress management. Okay, And so I actually want this to be a little bit smaller, although it's taking on the global typography. I actually want to change the size of this a little. So I'm just going to go in and change that manually. So it's still going to keep the same font. And kind of the weight and the color and so on. But I just want to change the size a little bit so it kind of fits a bit better. So that's that. We've got that in there now. And then let's have a look. So we've got some logos. I could add some logos, I suppose, but I'm not sure if I want to. We'll give it a go. I wonder if there's any logo element. So we have got a logo list in here. So let's just pop it in and see what happens. Nice, it automatically scrolls. That's nice. And it fits within there. However, I feel like I would want it to be... So I wonder if I can pull it out so it's actually in the section itself. Yeah, that's cool, because then it comes out further than the text itself, so that's nice. And then I think what we need to do is just give it a bit of a margin at the top. So again, I think it's always the wrapper that you're playing with to get spacing. So I'm going to give it 20 for now. And then what we want to do, I'm presuming we just click add logo and then we start looking at what logos we can add. Now, can we add multiple? Looks like it. What have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be some more here somewhere, but maybe we'll leave it at 4 for now. Okay, so it's added 4. They are all actually white. So I do wonder if so I'm just thinking with Elementor you can actually change like the contrast and stuff like that to change the color. So we've got gradient, but I believe that is just the color at the end. Yeah, I thought so. So we'll leave that to white. Height, spacing, so on and so forth, advanced. So it might be that you'd probably change stuff in the CSS, I'd imagine. So it might be some custom CSS in there to change the colours of the logo, or just put the right coloured logos in there. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So yeah, we'll leave that for now. I'm not sure I even want that, to be honest, anyway. It's kind of pointless. So we're going to go for another section now, and again I kind of struggle with the amount of text I have on our site. I really don't like it. I want to kind of slim it down a bit. So I want to think maybe, our boxes we have here would be nice to have them looking much more like this. So we just need to think about how we can adjust these and, have our section here. So let's just pop this over here. Let me think. So we've got that section there, but then obviously we want another two. Yeah, that's helpful, isn't it? Interrupted by a focus session. So what we need to do now, I think, I'm just trying to decide. So what we could potentially do we need it? Yeah, so what I'm trying to decide is, do we need another section, or can we just go with adding a div? What am I doing? Add a div in the section itself, so that then we don't have to add another section. Always trying to think of, or remind myself. I mean, even though you could do it in Elementor to a certain extent, they still haven't got the Flexbox stuff just yet. So always trying to remind myself I need to try and use the least amount of sections and divs and columns as I can. So for here, I could have added a new section, then added 2 columns. But I think what I'm going to do is just add another div within this section. And then what's in the columns? There's text and an image. So I might actually, it's actually a video. I might actually get away with just adding a heading in here, and then a image in here, video, sorry, right? And then, so we want this div to lay out horizontally instead of vertically. So we then go to layout horizontal and we'll go space between, and that does nothing. Don't ask me why. Odd. Maybe that is actually really odd. Because surely if you added a div, why would it not? Is it the width? Could be. So let's just go 100%. No. Could it be that it's the video that's messing up? Or could it be that I'm just being stupid? Let's just add another heading. Yeah, so that works. Okay, so let's add an image. Yeah, that works. So let's add a video. Okay, so I think it might be, maybe we need to set a maybe we need to set a width for the video options. I've not actually added a video yet, so I don't actually know what options we've got here. Container. Okay, so maybe if we just go 50%, awesome. So that's that. So yeah, so we've saved ourselves one section basically. So we would have had a section, then two divs, and then one in these and one div, one in the other. But we've just got one div, which is awesome. So we saved on that. We've got our div selected. We just need to add some margin. So again, I'm going to stop wasting time trying to find things because it's really frustrating. And we're going to give that, I'm going to go for 60 on that. Copy that and paste that. And again, because we didn't give our heading a width, because we're stupid, and I think this is what I find frustrating. So some elements have stuff like, oh, you go here and then you go container, and then you can change the width. And if I go to heading, I go here, there's no container. So it's things like that that you think, okay, I'll go and change the width, just like I did last time, and you can't find where to change it. So it's a little bit frustrating because everything seems to be in a different place. So it's not helpful really in terms of figuring stuff out, but it's fine. You've got search, that works really well. So we've got that. If I wanted to have that, I don't know. Again, this is more demonstration than anything. I will spend more time trying to figure out how I want this to look because I want it to be cleaner. So again, I think I'm going to add another div and we're going to pop it under here. And that one is going to be 100%. Or is it? No, it's not. It's going to be 800 pixels, and then we're going to add some text in there, and we're going to pop our text in there. No, I think we are actually going to make that div 100% for now. Let's make that 100%, and then we're going to go margin top 60 again. So we've got a text there. Now, so our boxes, we should have, I think, let's go for icon box. Yeah, so we've got an icon box. We can pop that down here in our div. And so what happens if we duplicate it? They go underneath. So what we then need to do, okay, is we want, say about 3, I mean, let's have a look. So they've got 3 on this site. Yeah, I mean, let's go for like 3, I think, is a good number. But we can't lay out the whole div horizontally because then that will make the text go horizontal. So we need to add another div underneath this one. And then we'll put our icon box in there, like that. And then we'll make this div lay out horizontally with space between. And then, so if we duplicate it again, Oops, I duplicated the div rather than the icon box. So there we go. And what I want to do now is make our icon boxes a different width so we can fit 3 in. So at the moment we've got 500 pixels. That seems to be what it kind of defaults to. I'm going to go for like maybe 300-ish. And I believe we can copy and yes, we can copy and paste, and we can paste design as well. So yeah, okay, just checking we can do those things. So let's just duplicate what's happening here. Oh, okay, so we want those icons to come back down here, please. There we go. Now we want this div to align everything centered. We also want this div to be 100%, which is why it's all bunched to the left at the moment. And then we're getting somewhere. Now, gap. So if we went to like 20, the gap, I think, if I remember rightly, is the vertical gap. Okay, so we've already got that set anyway. So if I duplicated one of those again, okay, so it's not applying the gap. So let's just do 3 more, and then we'll go back to our div. We'll set our gap to 30, and then we've got a 30 pixel gap horizontally. Vertically, sorry. So then horizontally, we've got space between. We've got space around, so it pulls them in a bit more. We've got space evenly. We've got center. So we could center them like that. And then what I think we want to do is then start playing with the content. So we don't really need a button. So I think you can just clear that out. Yeah, that's great. Again, we've got too much text on these, but let's just see. So there's our text. We've got our icon, which we could choose another one later. That's fine. So I want the icon to be on the left. It would kind of be nice if I could center it. Yep, cool. So that's kind of what they have over here. What I want to try and do though, and I'm not sure this is going to work. So let's just mess with the typography a bit. So the title, definitely need to bring that sizing down. It's too big. The icon is also too big. So let's pull that sizing down. Do you not get style? Size, okay. See, again, everything's just hidden away a little. Okay, so you've got the actual icon size. Then we've got corners padding. Let's pull that padding down. Can we not just get rid of that? We don't need... fun. So it's trying to find stuff. It just gets buried everywhere. So the size, we're going to go for 15 pixels. I don't want it to be outlined. There we go. I don't really care about the radius because it's not outlined anyway. So we want to go back, and where did we say left? And then we want it to be middle. We want our text to then be a bit smaller, so our typography for the title a bit smaller. So let's say that kind of size. Let's go 20. And then we will look at the text, and I'll leave the text. No, actually, I will say 14. Should we go 16? We don't want it to be too small. And then we don't want the button, so again, button can do one. And then, so we've kind of got something, but as you can see, it's not even close to what this is. And I think a lot of that is the fact that we have quite a squished up sizing of our section, this div specifically. So it's 100%, but of course that's 100% of the main section, and the main section is set to a particular width in the globals. So what I am going to do in this scenario is I am going to add another section, and then I am going to pull this div into that section, and then this section I should be able to, he says, change that to full width, and then that one's 100%. So why are we then not seeing this? So let's exit to the front end and see what we're looking at. Oh yeah, okay, so we're just not seeing it in the editor as such. That's helpful. So we could, yeah, okay, so we could close the editor, I suppose. But again, we still need to mess with the text to maybe get rid of some of the spacing. Again, we might have to go advanced and line height to custom. Let's go for 15. Let's go for 20 pixels. 20 pixels. That pulls it all up a bit. I would say. So let's see if we can set width of. Let's go for percent and just go 33%. Because then, sorry, just bashed the mic, probably deafened you. Because then I think what we can do is, if we save that, we should, in theory, not quite. I was hoping we were going to have 3 in a row, but that's not going to work. Just probably because we've got the gaps. So what we might need to do is kind of bring those down to, like, let's just say 30. See what happens. Copy, paste design, paste design. I think it's because it accounts for the gaps as well, whereas I don't think Elementor does. There we go. So that's kind of good. They're much longer than what we want, but you get the gist. It's just a case of messing with the styling, and we could be stuck on this forever else. So we'll get rid of some of these. Just clear some of these out, and we'll go to the next bit. We want to add a button. We want to add an image and some text, maybe a divider. Okay, so let's now we'll add a button to this section, and we'll pop it there. And what we want to do is we want to center, so everything's centered. Oh, it's because our button's not in there. There we go. And yes, show me the plans. Show me the plans. And then we can add our link in here. We can click the link icon, and then we can search pages. We've got some other options here. We can make it a lightbox, so we could choose what it actually opens as a lightbox, which is really awesome actually. So we could have like a button that says watch a video here. We can go lightbox, we can go video, choose a video, or paste a URL. That's really cool. Action, you've got pop-up, control slider, and so on. So we're just going to keep that to URL. And then you've got dynamic content, so you can choose where this button goes through dynamic content. Just going to leave that as is for now. I'm not going to add a link. So now we want like an image and some text and stuff on the side. So again, we pretty much want this, but reverse. So if we just go up here, what we'll do is we'll just duplicate that div, drag it down to the bottom, and then we'll switch these two things around, and then we'll chuck an image in there like so, and we will ditch the video like so. We'll pop an image in of something or other. Let's see what we can put in there. That'll probably do. Or shall we put something else? What should we put in here? Let's pop that in there for now, because we are a green service and we plant trees for all of our customers. And again, who knows where the width option is? It's buried somewhere in there. Let's go 50%. Sorry, just knocked something off my desk. So we might have better sound, but now you can hear everything. I actually want that image to be smaller, but I think what I'm going to do is, so we've got full width, image, okay, yeah, so it is still that. Okay, so let's just go 25. And what we want to do is layout, horizontal, and I think I'm going to go space around instead. Yep, and then we can go borders, and so the borders is quite different to what you're used to in Elementor. So usually used to like a little horizontal grid where you can just do top left, right, bottom numbers, or all of them together. So this works similarly, but it looks different. So if you click in the middle, it gives you all borders. If you click at the top, obviously it's top border, bottom, right and left. And again, radius. So you've got radius, which applies to all, and then you can click this, and then you can give a radius to specific corners, which is quite nice, that it shows which corner and what have you. So we're just going to give this a radius of 10, which nicely cuts our image and gives it a nice radius of 10. This text I don't want to be that big, that's hideous. And again, what we need, start again. What we want to make sure of is that we're applying tags to stuff, so we're not forgetting our SEO, especially for headings. So we want a H1 up the top, just one H1 on a page. This is a H2. This will also be a H2. And as you can see, I changed that to H2, and then it applies a particular size. And that is again because I set the size of H tags in the globals. So again, I want that to be a H2. If I set it to a H3, it'll be smaller again. So that's that. And then, so we've got a bit of text now. We'll pop that in as well. Just under here somewhere. Hello. Now see, we won't be able to put it under there because we've set the div to horizontal. So now we need to add another div, and I'm pretty sure you can. Did I imagine that from another builder? Maybe. I was sure you could add a div from that actual div, but meh. What did I just add? Nothing. So we want to add a div, and then what we want to do is we want to pop our text in that div and our heading in that div, and we want to make this div containers there 50%, and it's already laying out vertically, but as you can see, the text is somehow not going for width. That is because we set a size earlier because it wasn't within a div initially. So now we've got that, we've got a text. Let's just pop our text in. There we go. And now we're getting somewhere. So now what I want to do with this div is I want everything to kind of sit centrally. So at the moment you can see the text is sitting up a bit higher. So what we can do is we can go to horizontal, we're aligning to the center, vertical we want to be middle. Okay, sorry, I've selected the wrong div, it's this div, but same principle, horizontal, vertical align, middle, and then you can see the text jumps to the middle and kind of lays it out a bit more evenly. Now, as you can see, because we added this within the section that we made full width, it's much wider than the rest of the content. So we may not want to do that. That's entirely up to you. So what I would need to do is I'd need to pull this div out of this section, and add another section. So we can do that. We'll add another section quickly, and then so what we'll do is we'll pull this whole div and we'll pop it in this section. Okay, and then if we close the editor, you'll see that this stuff is now basically the default width. However, we want the icon boxes to stay in that section, but we want this div to go in the new section. So now we should have full width boxes here and normal width box down here. So that's kind of started to build out our home page. It's not looking brilliant because we need to kind of finesse it and get a bit more detail and take a bit more time in putting it together, but you get the principle and the idea of how to do things now. So I don't think we've got anything else too funky going on. We've got some reviews, things like that, some blog post listings. So we could do that, I suppose. Some people like to add blogs to their home page. So we've got a post meta, we've got all the different post options here. We've got a post list, which is by the looks of it, is just a default WordPress widget, I guess. Then we've got a loop builder, so you can actually build your own custom posts, which is just awesome. Something that actually in a recent project I did was hugely frustrating in Elementor because I don't have a loop builder. So yes, you can add posts and you can have the post title, comments and tags and so on. But for example, this customer had a custom post type, which then had so it was basically a job post type. So then the customer had things like whether the job was full-time or part-time, what the salary was, and where the location of the job was. So for that particular listing of posts, they wanted obviously the job title to show, but they don't need categories and comments. What they wanted to show in the post type archive as such is to show the salary, the hours, and so on. And you can't do that without creating a post loop, essentially. So having that in Breakdance is awesome. So I'm just going to grab this post list. I haven't actually used this, so I have no idea what it's going to look like or what it's going to do. And so as you can see, we've hit a bit of an error. Apparently it can't request Ajax. So that may be an issue with our staging server. So, don't assume it's Breakdance. I mean, it might be. There certainly is bugs, but it could be our server too. I mean, it is a shame that we can't add that and see. But hey, we will go with it. We can we just, I wonder if we can just add do we have to build a loop here or do we have to build it somewhere else? Yeah, okay, so I thought so. We have to build the loop elsewhere, but we can look at that in another video. So let's have a look through our widgets. Is there anything else we might want to add? Now I might want to add actually on the home page a pricing table, but without all the features and gumph, just a basic pricing table that then maybe takes you to the actual pricing page, so people just get a rough idea of what's going on. And so the great thing about this is you can see I've added a pricing table, but it's almost automatically taken on all of our global styles, so fonts, colors, button colors, radius on the buttons, everything. It's just so easy. And then so we'll duplicate this a couple of times. Again, we're going to need to add another div to lay this out properly. So let's just pop these into that div, and we will go horizontal space between. And then let's just see if we can fit. Will that fit 3? Not quite. So we could potentially width. Let's go 300. 400. 350 is what we will do, and then we'll copy and we'll paste our design and we'll paste our design. That pulls them all in together. Lovely. And then we could do some stuff like give the middle one some negative margin, for example. So let's go negative 30, and then that just pulls that one up. So that could be the kind of popular one. I'm presuming we could just turn the accent. Oh, okay, so the accent is the whole border. Interesting. So if you don't have that, you don't get... Oh, okay, yeah, so that would make sense. So then we'll turn that one off on there as well. And then that makes this one stand out a bit more. So let's just then give our div some margin at the top as well. We'll go for 60. Let's go for 120. So now you can see, you know, the center one stands out more. And then we can have these links. If this was on our home page, then potentially we could have it go straight to the order, or we could take it to the pricing page so that then they can see in more detail what the features are. So yeah, that is pretty much it for this. I think we'll call it a day. If you have any questions, please do chuck them in the comments. More than happy to try and answer them. Like I say, this series I'm creating is basically from a Elementor user's perspective. So I've used Elementor for several years, use it pretty much every day. Our own site's built on Elementor, and most of our customer sites are. But we are exploring Breakdance and what it can do. And you know, sometimes there's videos where you have, you know, people that have spent some time with it, that have worked with it for quite a while, and then done videos, so they're kind of really you know, fluid with it. But I want to kind of show the learning curve as I go, because you're going to hit exactly the same issues as me, most likely. Things like the bugs, things like not quite managing to find certain settings or certain things. So, you know, by watching my videos, you kind of hopefully I will make the mistakes for you, essentially, because that's the best way to learn is through your own mistakes. So yeah, just thumbs up the video, subscribe, and like I said, drop a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Not quite sure what we're going to look at next in Breakdance, but it will be coming out in a week or two. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I don't sound like I'm in a tin can this time. Cheers and out.